The rain wasn't falling, it was attacking the windshield in sheets, blurring the world into streaks of silver and black. And yet, even through the storm, I could still see the glow of my parents' house across the street. Warm. Quiet. Perfectly still. As if nothing inside those walls had ever burned me alive. I gripped the steering wheel harder, my knuckles pale. From here, I could see them through the window. My mother laughing on the sofa. My father raising a glass. My sister twirling a pair of car keys she didn't pay for, keys my stolen money bought. They were celebrating. Celebrating my downfall, bought and wrapped with the cash they yanked from an account I'd forgotten even existed. The same account they'd claimed was their right to access. The same one they drained to reward the daughter who could do no wrong. A bolt of lightning lit the street, sharp and violent. For one dangerous second, I imagined walking up to the door, kicking it open, and ending the charade right there. They'd see who I really was. They'd choke on the truth. But no. Not yet. I breathed out slowly, letting the tension coil tight and cold inside me. Because they had no idea what I'd built. No idea what I controlled. No idea who I'd become while they were busy calling me useless, helpless, a disgrace. They told me to get out. They told me to go live in the streets. They didn't know. I owned half the skyline glittering behind me. And tonight, this quiet little celebration of theirs, was the last peaceful night they would ever have. As thunder cracked overhead, I whispered to myself. This is where it ends for you. All of you. Then I started the engine, pulled away from the curb, and let the storm swallow me whole. Because it was time to go back to the day everything began to unravel. Back to the moment they decided I was nothing. And back to the moment I decided I'd prove them wrong in a way they would never recover from. People assume the moment your family turns on you is dramatic, screaming, doors slamming, someone flipping a table. But mine began with a spoon. A cheap, stainless steel spoon clinking against the side of a mug as my mother stirred her tea like she was punishing it. You're wasting your life, Serena, she said without looking at me. And frankly, we're embarrassed. My father hummed in agreement, his version of participating in parenting, while scrolling through his tablet like I wasn't standing 3 feet away. They had no idea, of course. No idea that the online company I started when I was barely out of high school had grown into a global brand. No idea that I'd built entire branches of it under shell corporations to keep them out of my finances. And definitely no idea that I could buy their house with last month's earnings alone. Mom, I said, keeping my voice flat, I didn't come here to argue. Good, she shot back. Because we've already made a decision. We. That word should have warned me. Whenever my parents said we, it meant they'd united against a mutual enemy, usually me. My sister, Camille, sat on the sofa sipping her wine like she'd bought it instead of taking it from my mother's cabinet. She had the look of someone waiting for the punchline she helped write. My father stopped pacing and pointed toward the front door. You're done, Serena. You're 30, still playing with your little internet hobby, and honestly? We can't support this delusion anymore. I blinked. Support? You've never supported me. He scoffed. We've let you come here when you needed help. Help. The word tasted sour. They weren't talking about money. They meant emotional support, a place to talk, someone to confide in, none of which they had ever actually given me. My mother crossed her arms. You should learn what it's like to have real responsibilities. If you can't make it on your own, you'll have to face reality. Camille smirked behind her glass. My father delivered the final blow. Get out, Serena. If you have nowhere to go, then go live in the streets. Maybe then you'll appreciate what we've done for you. The room went silent. Rain tapped lightly on the windows, soft, almost apologetic, as the air thickened around me. Then suddenly I felt something unexpected. Not sadness. Not shame. Relief. They thought I was helpless. Useless. A failure. They had no idea I was already more powerful and wealthier than anyone in that room. So I picked up my coat, slid it over my shoulders, and said, "If that's what you want." My mother opened her mouth, probably to twist the knife, but I didn't give her the chance. I walked out into the rain, the same rain that would later witness everything unravel. I didn't cry. I didn't look back. I simply got into my car, a matte black luxury sedan they assumed was some used bargain, and drove into the night. Not because I had nowhere to go, but because for the first time in my life, I had no reason to come back. What I didn't know then was that their cruelty that night was only the beginning. They weren't finished hurting me. And they had no idea the storm they had just unleashed. For a while after they threw me out, the world felt strangely hollow, like someone had pressed mute on my life. No calls. No texts. No "Serena, are you okay?" They erased me with the same ease they dismissed me. But the silence wasn't peaceful. It was a setup. Because while I kept working in my penthouse overlooking the city, my family was working too. On crafting a beautifully tragic lie about me. I heard the stories through acquaintances, people who didn't realize the gossip trail led back to me. Serena's homeless now. Serena's business crashed. Serena's finally learning responsibility. My mother had told her church group I was living out of my car. Camille had told old classmates I was begging for help. They spoke as if destroying my reputation was an act of charity. The worst part? I almost let it slide. Almost. But everything changed on a Thursday morning. I was reviewing projections for an upcoming partnership in Dubai when an email notification flashed across my screen. Subject: urgent, unusual account activity detected. At first, I thought it was a scam. But when I logged into the old joint savings account my parents opened for me as a teenager, my entire body went cold. 2 massive in-person withdrawals had been made. From a bank branch right by my parents' house. I called the bank immediately, demanding details. The teller remembered it vividly. "Your mother came in and said you'd authorized her to withdraw funds for a family emergency." My throat tightened. "Calm, Serena. Calm." After the call, I rang the only family member who ever treated me like a human being, my cousin, Mason. He hesitated before speaking, which was never a good sign. "Serena. I think I know where the money went." "Where?" I asked. He exhaled slowly. "Camille just showed off her new luxury SUV on social media. She said your parents helped with the down payment. She called it a reward for her hard work." A reward. Bought. With my stolen savings. Something in me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But quietly, like a hairline fracture in glass, the kind you don't notice until the whole thing shatters. I didn't confront them. Not yet. Instead, I drove to their neighborhood and parked across from their home, the warm glow from the windows soft against the darkness. I could see them inside, laughing, posing with Camille's new car keys, taking photos. Celebrating. I gripped the steering wheel, my nails digging into the leather. This wasn't neglect. This wasn't misunderstanding. This wasn't family conflict. This was theft. Violation. Disrespect so deep it scraped bone. And then my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Serena, don't be upset about the savings account. It was just sitting there. Camille needed help. You'll make more money someday. Family first." Family first. The same family who told me to go live in the streets. I stared at the message until the words blurred. When I finally looked up, Camille was in the driveway twirling her new keys, smiling at her reflection in the car window, looking proud of the gift she received for betraying me. That was the moment the final thread inside me snapped completely. There would be no more kindness. No more explanations. No more waiting for them to become people they never would be. If they wanted a failure story to brag about at dinner parties, fine. I'd give them a story. Just not the one they expected. Because while they were busy tearing down the image of who they thought I was about to dismantle the world they built around themselves. Not out of anger. Not out of spite. But because they needed to learn that when you push someone into the streets, they might just come back owning the whole damn neighborhood. I didn't explode. I didn't scream. I didn't storm their house and demand my money back. No, that would have given them power. And I was done giving them anything. Instead, I went quiet. Dangerously quiet. Silence is where strategy is born. That meant locking down every account, closing every loophole, sealing every crack in my financial world they could possibly crawl through. My lawyer didn't ask questions, she didn't need to. She knew that when a client speaks in the tone I used, something irreversible had happened. We froze old accounts. Reorganized assets. Shifted holdings offshore. Untangled anything with even a whisper of their names on it. Then I made one more call, one I had been avoiding for years. A contact who specialized in the kinds of information families prayed no one would ever discover. Get me everything, I said. Financials. Loans. Debts. Contracts. Public. Private. All of it. He didn't hesitate. I think he heard something in my voice. Something cold, sharpened, and past the point of mercy. My parents' finances weren't stable. Not even close. Below the surface, their world was crumbling. A retirement fund stretched thin. A failed investment bleeding money. A personal loan my father had guaranteed on behalf of a dying property company. And Camille, the golden child, drowning in credit card debt, luxury spending, and a second mortgage she was 3 months behind on. They projected strength. They lived like royalty. They talked about me like I was nothing. But the truth? They were rotting behind polished doors. And then I found the weak point, the one fault line that, when pressure was applied, would break everything. My father's property development investment. He had guaranteed a loan personally. If the company folded, the bank wouldn't go after the business. They would go after him. And the reports showed one thing clearly. The collapse was coming, fast. 3 months, maybe less. The perfect opening. Meanwhile, I became someone they couldn't fathom. While they were busy telling people I was living out of my car, I was doing the following. Heavy checkmark expanding my flagship company into Europe and Asia. I signed deals that would make my competitors faint. Heavy checkmark attending invitation-only investor summits. Rooms they could never enter. Tables they'd never be invited to sit at. Heavy checkmark networking with the top-tier players in tech, real estate, media, and finance. People who controlled headlines and destinies. Heavy checkmark funding a startup acquisition worth 8 figures. My portion alone could have bought their whole neighborhood. Heavy checkmark quietly building a global footprint big enough to bury the fiction they'd spread about me. No bragging. No announcement. No social media flexing. Just power accumulating. And waiting. One morning, I received a call from a real estate investment firm. They were snapping up distressed assets. They wanted me involved. They trusted me. I reviewed the portfolio they sent over. And when I reached property #14, I froze. There it was. My father's failing development project. Highlighted in red. Tagged as high-risk distress, imminent default. My heart didn't race. It slowed. Cold. Steady. Controlled. This was it. The universe had placed the knife in my hand. All I had to do was decide how deep to cut. The business magazine editor I'd met months earlier called me. "We want you as the centerpiece of our next cover," she said. "The theme is self-made success stories, people who were underestimated." I almost smiled. I agreed immediately, with one condition. The release date had to fall in the exact same month my father's investment was set to collapse. She didn't question it. Why would she? She didn't know the long game I'd been playing. But I did. And the board was set. While my family continued their Sunday dinners, always with my name used as a punchline, little rumors began slipping into their world. Someone saw me at an airport lounge in Hong Kong. Someone else mentioned they saw me leaving a meeting with executives in Singapore. A hairdresser overheard talk about a CEO named Vale closing international deals. Curiosity turned into unease. Unease turned into doubt. Doubt turned into fear. They had pushed me out believing I had nothing. Now they were starting to realize they didn't know me at all. But by the time the truth hit them, it would already be too late. Because the month was coming. The month everything would collide. My magazine cover. My father's financial collapse. And the moment I stepped out of the shadows. And reminded them exactly who I had always been. I woke up to my phone exploding with messages, colleagues, investors, journalists, even people I barely knew. There I was on the cover. Serena Vale. From useless to unstoppable. The self-made visionary everyone underestimated. The article didn't name my family, but it didn't need to. Anyone with basic reading comprehension could feel the implication. They doubted her. She won anyway. By noon, Camille had already seen it. She didn't message me, of course, but mutual acquaintances sent screenshots of her face, pale, stunned, lips pressed tight. My mother tried to call. I let it ring. My father sent a single text. We need to talk. Immediately. I didn't respond. Not yet. Because the second strike was already falling. 2 weeks after the magazine hit, my father's property development company officially defaulted. The bank swooped in. And the real estate firm I partnered with acquired the entire project at a fraction of its projected value. My capital flowed in, clean and undetectable. Outcome. I now owned the development my father had been bragging about for years. He didn't know. Not yet. He just knew he'd lost everything. But the reveal was coming. Oh, it was coming. I had my assistant send them a polite invitation to dinner at a high-end restaurant downtown. The message was framed as a discussion regarding a potential business opportunity. They arrived eager, smiling, wearing their best clothing, the same people who told me to go live in the streets. My mother hugged me like she hadn't tried to ruin my life. My father shook my hand with forced pride. Camille complimented my suit, her envy barely contained. We sat. We ordered. We talked small talk that tasted like poison. And when the entrees arrived, I slid a folder across the table. Before we continue, I said quietly, I think you should see this. My father opened it. His face drained of color. Inside was the ownership document for the development he had personally guaranteed, the project he believed he still controlled. This must be a mistake, he whispered. No, I said. It's not. My mother leaned over his shoulder, her breath catching. Camille's wine glass paused midair. My father looked up slowly. You bought it? I held his gaze. I own it. Their expressions broke, shock first, then fear, then something else. Humiliation. My mother's voice cracked. Serena, how could you do this to us? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. You stole from me, I said calmly. You used my money to buy Camille a car. You told people I was homeless. You told me to go live in the streets. Camille's jaw clenched, but she stayed silent. My father swallowed hard. This is revenge? No, I said. This is responsibility. Something you claimed I didn't have. I leaned in, lowering my voice. The difference between us is simple. You used lies and theft to get what you wanted. I used strategy. I played the long game. And now, when this development turns a profit, and it will, not a single cent of it will have your name on it. My mother trembled. Camille stared at the table. My father looked smaller than I'd ever seen him. I stood. Enjoy your dinner. I paused. Oh, and don't worry about the staff at the development. Their jobs are safe. Yours aren't. Then I walked away, leaving them beneath the glittering chandeliers, drowning in the ruin they built themselves. Within days, the news spread. Not because of me, I told no one. People just love a twist. My father's downfall. His daughter's success. The poetic irony. Their friends whispered. Their colleagues speculated. Their social circle devoured the story like dessert. Camille tried to renew her luxury SUV lease, but she couldn't afford it anymore. She downgraded, quietly, shamefully. My parents sold their vacation home. Then their second car. Then they stopped hosting Sunday dinners altogether. They reached out twice. A pity attempt. I ignored both. Not out of malice. But because I owed them nothing. Months later, the development I now own turned a massive profit, faster than projected. I reinvested the returns. More deals. More expansion. More power. One evening, as the sun set over the skyline, my mother sent a final email. Just one sentence. You've changed. I closed my laptop. No. I hadn't changed. I had just stopped sitting quietly while they wrote the wrong story about me. I had rewritten it myself. And as I stood on my penthouse balcony, looking out over a city I now controlled more than they could ever imagine, I whispered the truth, not for them, but for me. You told me to live in the streets. So I bought the whole block. Please click the subscribe button, like, share and comment. This will encourage me to make more interesting stories. Also let's know where you are watching from. Thank you and see you in the next story.